Good morning, good afternoon, good day, wherever you may be in this world. Thank you very much for making time to attend today's SkyConnect discussions. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, as in the past, today we have another eminent guest who is an aviation consultant and who would be part of our discussions today. She is in the person of Dr. Soumaya Ben Letaifa, the Chief Executive Officer of Innova Conseil. In our discussion today, we would be reviewing a number of areas impacting our industry. Chiefly, we will be looking at the airline industry, the opportunities and challenges, viewing it from a consultant's perspective. We would look at what strategies airlines need to adopt in a post-COVID world in order not only to remain in business, but also to be successful. We would discuss some airline business transformation and sustainability yardsticks, at least so that airlines who would be part of this discussion today can have some key takeaways on how they need to be relooking at their airlines if they are not already doing so that they can become what they expect them to be going into the future. Before we conclude, we would actually take a dive into who is Innova Conseil and what support are they offering the aviation industry on the continent, and what are the outcomes of their partnership relations with the African Airlines Association, as well as other organizations on the continent. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, we have a packed day today. And on behalf of all of you, I wish to welcome Dr. Soumaya to today's show. Doctor, you're welcome. Hello, Dr. Soumaya. Can the technical team please assist us?
Hello, Dr. Soumaya, you're on mute. Please unmute.
Do you hear me now?
Yes, good, loud and clear.
Yeah, thank you so much.
Good, welcome to SkyConnect.
Yes, thank you.
Yes.
Hello, everyone. Thank you for the invitation.
Welcome. Now, for our guests, remember, as in previous occasions, you have the opportunity to participate in the discussions as we move along. So if you have any questions or comments, please do post them on the Q&A tab or in the chat box, and we will review them as we go along. Please feel free to participate actively so that we can have more interactive and more engaging discussions today. We have surprises for you, and I am sure you would be glad you actually joined today's show. So thank you very much again, everybody, for making the time to be part of us. We would have 1 hour for today's session as always. Dr. Soumaya, Innova Conseil, you as founder and managing partner CEO. We need to know a bit about you and about Innova Conseil, just briefly.
Absolutely. Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Mr. Kushi. I'm delighted to be here, invited today as the CEO of Innova Conseil and also as a partner of AFRAA. So I'm Soumaya Ben Letaifa, CEO of Innova Conseil, also director of self-leadership program for Africa and MENA region. It's the program of executive training and coaching of University of Geneva. I'm also strategic advisor for government policies for private and public sector. Doctor in Strategy and Business Administration, and Strategy and Innovation Professor at the University of Quebec at Montreal. So this is about me. Moving on maybe a quick presentation on Innova Conseil. Innova Conseil is an international consulting firm launched in Montreal in 2012. It specializes in niche advisory services, strategy and innovation, self-leadership, people and culture, and customer experience. We opened an African and Indonesian branch in 2016. We expanded to the MENA and Africa region, and we're tackling the most critical topics of strategic support, cultural transformation, organizational restructuring, and our success depends on a deep collaborative approach and a partnership spirit. The COVID was an opportunity for us to really better serve the airline industry in its attempt to be agile, resilient. And so we accompanied organizational and business transformation, digitization, and operational efficiency. As you know, these transformational approach enabling airlines to grow, to build sustainable growth since the post-COVID and the recovery. It requires really a human-centric approach, and that's why we partner with the self-leadership program of the University of Geneva. Yeah. So, yeah.
Go ahead.
Yes. So these working on such complex project, it requires really a collaborative and bottom-up approach. And we're proud to pioneer with really innovative HR partners like University of Geneva with the certified and certifying program that assist leaders and managers in the execution of the strategy, in accelerating the change, in embracing this uncertainty, and it liberates both individual and organizational energy. So whatever the topic is, restructuring, strategy definition and execution, building organizational capabilities, whatever the size of the airline or of the AFRAA member, the program unleashes the leaders and the senior managers potential, and it allows to really have an effective roadshow.
Oh, great! I mean, so you actually are comprehensive, all-embracing business advisory firm and you not only in the aviation sector, but you cut across industries, but you have a special focus and industry interest in the aviation sector.
Yes.
So, okay. So, and now in this industry, I'm sure you have been a keen follower of what is happening to aviation and particularly in the African context. You would appreciate that our airlines are not the biggest. The majority of them are actually much smaller. And, you know, aviation is an industry where small is not beautiful. That size really does matter in most cases because of economies of scale. But over time, African airlines have always, in some cases, collectively move 2 steps forward and 3 steps backwards. What do you perceive are the industry challenges, first of all, before we talk about the opportunities, if any?
Yes. Let's start with the challenges. Of course, there are the traditional challenges, the old challenges of lack of regulation and government actions, the inadequate infrastructure, safety. I think it's going to be a challenge for all times in this industry. But I think since the COVID, we have also two new challenges. The first one maybe is the increasing costs. Was not only the COVID, but also, you know, the war in Europe, in Ukraine and Russia. So we have increasing costs in fuel. We have also increasing now costs because we need to invest in sustainability, and sustainability is going to be expensive, at least in the short term. But we need to invest in sustainability. The increasing costs also in terms of efficiency, because still we have issues with operational efficiencies in the airline industry, and specifically for African airlines. And I think for me, the epic problem is today the shortage in labor, and the problem of skilling, upskilling, and reskilling the human resources.
So you just let me just come in there. You thought just skill shortage. Let's just pause there for a moment.
Okay.
This is actually a critical moment for our industry, especially post-COVID, where it's not just only today an African problem, but it is a global problem.
Yeah. We
saw sometime last year when the industry was recovering that at some point some airlines could not cope with the traffic growth because they didn't have the people. They had to let people go. And now in an industry where when you have to recruit, you have to reskill and relicense and certify in some cases before people can perform. So we have this challenge, a global one. On the African front, we have the difficulty of actually retaining our skilled people. So I'm not too sure whether now that there is a global skill shortage, how is this likely to impact our industry in Africa?
Yeah, I think you're raising a good point about today. What can we do in terms of recruitment and retention? I think these two topics are important, are very important. In terms of recruiting, I think the industry should put its best foot forward. I think the reality today is that a career in business aviation is not anymore attractive to the young generations. There's a lack of interest in the aviation from younger talent pools. That's why we're having a specific issue within the maintenance, repair, and operations sector. We have, at the same time, a mix of growing demand, but also a decline of technicians, confirming what you have said, that most airlines before the COVID, they were already lacking this shortage in the maintenance technician field. So today we're suffering from this critical skills. So we need, I think, to remarket aviation, to remarket industry, to have a new storytelling in terms of aviation industry. If you see even the data, you know, they are really highlighting that there's an urgency to first retain our current labor, because we need the training of future generations, but those who will take also their retirement. We know that by 2027, global demand for aviation skills is set to overtake supply. So the retention and the attraction are two major today issues and challenges for the aviation sector. There's, as I said, the maintenance and repair and operation shortage, but also the pilots. Airline facing also the global pilot shortage. And especially that now with the recovery and with the new predictions, we're having a greater demand. We're having the air to continue to rise. So recruitment and retention are two challenges.
But you don't think that the apathy by the youth for skills development in the aviation sector is also because of the uncertainty of the future skill sets in the sector? Mm-hmm. For instance, there are discussions, if you talk about technological developments in the sector, there are ongoing discussions about the future of pilotless aircraft.
Yes, absolutely.
There are the issues of aircraft maintenance, not going to be a bit different from what we know it today. That the system itself would have the capability of pinpointing where the problem is, and then it's easier to fix. You know, so, and if you are a youth looking for skills to get into this space, would you not be a bit careful that you might be going into an area which probably might not have a future? I don't know.
Yes, I think uncertainty is the new certainty today. So I think today, that's why today I think we're thinking about new competencies when we recruit, also in terms of training, in education. Today we're looking at new capabilities when we recruit new talents. And for, I think, new generation, it's normal that there's kind of uncertainty. Not only airlines have suffered the uncertainty of the previous years, I think lots of sectors that have been impacted by the uncertainty. So I think uncertainty in the new certainty, and today we need to recruit people who would have the capability to have self-leadership, to cope with uncertainty, to lead in times of uncertainty, to have to see strategy as a journey instead of, you know, a long-term process, to be able to have confidence, trust, to be able also to have a minimum of also positive energy to deploy within a team, within a squad. So I think in terms of uncertainty, uncertainty would last, I think, because we are in times of turbulence and of unpredicted. Everything today is, even if we have artificial intelligence, many tools today to predict demand, data, etc., but still everything could happen at any time. And we need to have empowered young people, talented young managers, middle managers, and people who can move forward in a company, especially if it's a small company or even in a big company. But I think there's a need of that kind of profiles. This has been said. I think the career in the aviation sector is a lot better than most commercial equivalent roles, and it just have to be better marketed today. That's why I think the next AFRAA convention theme is quite relevant, which is, you know, the new narrative aviation. So I think we need to have a rebranding of the sector.
And I also hear that because Africa has a large youthful population, if we were to focus on developing these youth, first exciting them towards careers in aviation, to developing them to take up opportunities within the aviation space, because globally aviation will continue to grow, and particularly on the African continent, the growth is going to be explosive going forward. If we were to train these youth, then probably we are talking about we losing some of them to other regions. But like somebody once told me, the brain drain today becomes a brain gain tomorrow, because they go there, build onto their skills and expertise, and at some point, Africans are always Africans. They feel homesick and they come back home with those skills, and then we benefit. But I think we need to do something in that regard. What are your thoughts?
Yes, I think I could be an example. As an African, you know, I lived for 15 years in Canada, and then, you know, I had the need to come back to Africa, and, you know, to lead from Tunisia, and to be, you know, I think you're right. At a certain point, well, I won't talk about myself, but the new generations, you know, we have this mobile, this you know, the nomad new generations, and they feel citizens of the world. They need to travel a lot. They need to have experience outside of Africa. But then I think there's, you know, the emotional part of us. There's, you know, the effective part of us that will, at a certain time of our life, we want to come back. We want also to give back to our home country, to our continent. So I think this is a fact that we can build on this. But regarding the industry, what we can do is that today we need to really attract these young people in the aviation, and there's so much to do in terms of career opportunities. And so there's a whole re-engineering of the HR career paths that can be done in the industry. And sometimes we don't step back and see how much this industry is really amazing in terms of perspectives, businesses. So I think there are lots of possibility to have zigzag careers and opportunities within an airline, and to move even abroad thanks to this airline. I think the airlines have representations, they have opportunities, and it's an ecosystem that is open to lots of business opportunities and possibilities. But yes, there are a lot. I think we can be more flexible, innovative, especially with all the HR trends today. I think the COVID had its advantages. We can see the half of the glass.
So I want to touch on another challenge which you mentioned, cost, the high cost in this industry. And yes, we know the fuel situation is always a roller coaster. It goes up, it comes down, goes up again, and then overshoots, and then all our plants are thrown off gear. But beyond the fuel cost, we realize that many of the African currencies are very soft. And almost everything we do in this industry is in hard currency, the US dollar or its equivalent. Now, which puts a lot of strain on our airlines in actually managing their costs. As if that is not enough, we have many governments around the world, and particularly in Africa, who see airlines as cash cows. So anytime they have a budget hole, the Minister of Finance simply comes up with a tax and then put on passengers and airlines. It's making air travel very expensive on the continent. And this is partly why a continent of a population of 1.3 billion, we currently have just about 10% of that population traveling by air. How can we deal with this challenge?
Yes, I think one of the challenges is these constantly rising costs. You mentioned some of them. We have high industry costs that includes high taxes, as you said. You have fuel costs, you have maintenance costs. And today, as I said, I think the cost will be still rising because we will be having to invest in fuel efficient aircraft. So we need to invest also in sustainability, but and sustainability will be expensive. Maybe we can talk about this later. But how can we today reduce the cost? I think the first opportunity in terms of operational efficiency is first to improve the operational efficiency in itself, the management. I think this is today need to invest in a lean management, to do a re-engineering of the processes, also the digitization of work. It helps to reduce lots of costs. This is an important, even in terms of fuel, today we have some best practices. We have what we call the airline routes performance management. And this is very important. We have some pioneering airlines that already are doing that, both on an individual, but also on a collective level, meaning that at the end of the year, we have pilots that are rewarded according to the management of the routes in terms of fuel consumption. So today there are lots of opportunities in terms of management, because of course the price of fuel, we can't do anything about it. Really, we have a context today, but there are in terms of operational efficiency, I think we can seize the opportunity of investing in technology, digitalization, and also operational efficiency. So there's a lot to do in this area.
Wow. Okay, now probably let's get to some of the opportunities. What do you consider opportunities for African airlines on the African continent?
Well, the increased opportunity first, I think today we have a huge opportunity as the demand is growing. So today, if we see even the data in terms of international flights, I think Ethiopian Airlines have opened new intra-African Fifth Freedom routes, while Air Maroc also and Egyptair opened some previous closed routes. So the opportunities in terms of markets are there. This is the first thing to mention. Then in terms of growth, I think the traffic is really great. We reached more than 100% of the pre-COVID level. So the demand is there. And when the demand is there, that means we need today to provide a seamless customer journey, a better customer journey to these customers. So there is a need to invest in technology. And today we have lots of innovation that will allow us to better personalize the travel, the journey, the in-flight experience, also the experience in the airport. We have lots of pain points sometimes during the customer journey that could disappear. If we think about, for example, biometrics, about real-time information in case of delays, in case of problem with luggage. I think there's a lot to do in terms of customer experience, thanks to, as I said, biometrics, thanks to also blockchain. Today, we can have no more ID physical proof, thanks to blockchain, artificial intelligence too. Today, we can use predictive analysis, thanks to artificial intelligence. We have robotics, so we have the metaverse. There are lots of today opportunities in terms of emerging technologies to improve the customer experience. We have new generations that are expecting a seamless customer journey. We have also the digitalization that would help the operational management, and of course these two together will help to reduce cost and to improve operations. So I think the digital technologies are changing today the industry, and there's a need for African aviation to invest in these technologies to reduce the costs and also to improve the customer experience.
Now, we have a situation where many of the African airlines are small, they are undercapitalized, and they are not profitable. Now, to invest in these modern digital technology solutions that will actually completely revolutionize the business and catapult them into profitability requires money.
Absolutely.
Which is not readily available. How can we overcome this? Because at times it's like, is it the chicken coming first or the egg? So how do we need to invest before we make the money, or we need the money so that we can invest in digital technology?
Yes, this is, I think, a very important issue, and but I think that it's not a choice to invest today in technology and innovation, and of course, for some investments, like for the airports, for example, the biometrics in the airport, it won't be the airlines that would have to invest. It's the whole ecosystem. So I think we have to see it as a whole ecosystem perspective, where different stakeholders have to commit and engage in a common action plan. So it has to be first at a national level, but then at regional level too, because also when you belong to an alliance, you need also to have the same standards as your members. So let me begin with the national level. With the national level, of course, we need the governmental engagement action. We need the airport and all the stakeholders to engage in improving the infrastructure. We know that in some hubs, they managed to quickly have more passengers because they succeeded in improving the customer journey because having a strategy of a hub, especially for regional players, that means that you need to have the connectivity, to have also all the conditions in terms of airport facilities for passengers to enjoy the travel experience. So at a national level, there's, I think, an ecosystem engagement commitment. And then at a regional and at alliance also level, there are standards in terms of customer experience, technology, etc. And maybe SATAM could be also an example of improving the demand. And improving the demand, it improves the connectivity, and then it would also enhance. It could be a trigger for investment in improving facilities, because we cannot improve the routes if we don't provide better airport facilities, better customer experience, and be part of the new lifestyle. We're talking about new generation. We talked about new nomadic lifestyle, but these young generation and even the less younger generation are expecting certain levels when traveling. So I think it's a must. It's not anymore.
That's very interesting. Now, I just want us to look at now post-COVID. We've already talked about some of the issues that and how we need to deal with them. But I just wanted your opinion as a consultant in this industry about how African airlines can remain competitive post-COVID. My understanding is that after COVID, aviation is certainly not going to be what we know it to be. And any airline that is stuck in the old ways of doing things, chances are you will not survive, or you might survive, but you will never prosper. So what should airlines be doing differently so that they can be competitive?
Yes, I think the first thing is that the airlines, and earlier you talked about small players, medium-sized players, etc. First, I think the first thing is to focus on cost optimization. Cost optimization is key. So they should optimize their costs by adopting leaner operations, reducing waste, exploring new revenue stream like ancillary services today are very important. They need to digitize. Digitization is very important. It reduces the costs, and the pandemic has accelerated these trends, and they should invest in digital technologies to enhance customer experience and streamline operations. They need to invest in right scaling and training today in times of uncertainty. As we said earlier, today one of the main competencies is the capacity to be a leader, whatever is our job definition, and to be able to cope with uncertainty. And today also we don't sometimes have all the skills required. We need to right skill. Right skilling is very important. So to comply with the industry's recovery needs, I think African airlines need today to engage in this right skilling, upskilling, reskilling, change management, training, and thereby establishing the industry also as a rewarding career choice to remarket the industry, to better recruit and retain their talents. Also collaboration. I think collaboration is very important today. Sometimes airlines can see each other as rivals, maybe, or more competitors than cooperators, but collaboration is important to have strength, to compete more effectively against larger international airlines.
Yeah. If I may just take us back to the issue of skilling and reskilling, or right skilling that you talked about. We have one of the questions that is actually pointing in that direction, and this is from Aaron. And Aaron is saying, would it be correct to say that we have a shortage of skills challenge in Africa? Or is it not the case of skills misalignment? The available skills in aviation are not fully utilized or even acknowledged at the expense of expatriates who are oversold as experts in aviation. Is that not the case that probably we're not using our skills, our resource very well? And then we're thinking of getting more. So, or we are not aligning our skills, also our skilled people to the task that we have at hand. What do you think?
Yeah, thanks, Aaron, for this question. I think this question raises other questions too. It raised the question whether, first, do we know the skills we're having today? Do we have also an evaluation of the skills we need to have? Is there a gap analysis? Do we have an update on required skills every time we have a change in the industry? I think this question also reveals the question of the agility and the flexibility in the HR management, or maybe the experience, let's say, of the HR today, the human capital. How do we manage our human capital today? Because yes, maybe we don't know, and that's why we do not align. Maybe the misalignment is just a problem of evaluating today the skills,
That's right.
Yeah. And so do we have the right tools in order to evaluate the competencies? How do we evaluate today our managers, middle managers, etc.? What are the competencies that we analyze, that we appreciate at the end of the year in terms of performance? What are the competencies that we want also to build? Today we have new areas of focus. So are we up to date in terms of areas of focus? If we just take the technical part in terms of safety, sustainability, data science, cybersecurity, artificial intelligence, customer experience, and leadership, to have these areas in the evaluation at the end of the year. And if we have a gap, do we have the training? Do we provide the training so that our own human capital would have all the resources to cope with the change and to be able to take the right place and to be the leaders we want them to have? So I think it's always easy to ask our manager if they have or don't have the skills, but also the organization has to put in place a system that evaluates, that reinforces, that build new competencies. And I think it's a loop, it's a virtual loop. Today the aviation rebuilds itself from its biggest crisis, but I think it's a human capital crisis too.
Yeah, I get you. So it's more like we need to try and understand what we have and what we lack, and then see how we can bridge that gap. Because if we don't know that we have the skills, if we don't realign what we have to what our needs are, chances are we may never be able to get the right skill sets to do the right jobs that we have in place. But now we are seeing that this industry is poised to grow, particularly in Africa. And we also seen certain initiatives at the regional level or at the continental level to ensure that we have a faster growth of air transport. I'm talking here about the single African air transport market. And this is touted to have significant benefits in terms of connectivity, in terms of airline profitability and network expansion and support to job creation, business transformation, and trade on the continent. Now, where are we with the single African air transport market in your view? And do you think we are moving in the right direction at the right pace?
Yes, I think, well, SATAM is a very structuring project. As you said, lots of benefits from SATAM, the opportunities, connectivity, the regional air transport to drive economic growth. It would reduce ticket pricing, so it would improve the air transport affordability. And if you want to look at the half full part of the glass, I think today, since November, we had, I think it was during the AFRAA or just before the AFRAA in Dakar, Senegal, there was this new pilot implementation project that started. So I think we should be optimistic about these steps that would increase the fifth freedom penetration from 14 to I think 30% by 2025 within the club of ready and willing African states. So I think there are steps. Of course, the implementation is still slow, but I think there are some important steps that have been taken. We have also states that committed to SATAM, 35 states that committed to SATAM. We have, I think, 10 of 21 SATAM states that have implemented all the SATAM concrete measures. So I think I would be optimistic, and I think there's a follow-up very soon about the SATAM pilot implementation project. So I think the pilot is the smartest way to move forward, because we cannot implement it in the whole region. We need to have a pilot and then to scale up. So this pilot project would be followed, I think, diligently, and I think it would be the important step towards the whole implementation of SATAM project. But
yeah, I can agree with you more. I mean, that the pilot implementation program that has been adopted by the African Civil Aviation Commission probably seems to be one of the tools to unlock whatever challenges we might be. I think beginning next week, there is a roadshow, a pilot implementation roadshow taking place in Abuja, in Nigeria. And there are other countries' roadshows that are lined up in the course of the year. And AFCAC intends that by the end of each of these roadshows, the country, the host country of the roadshow, would have actually done all the paperwork, all the regulatory provisions necessary. And by the time they are leaving there, that market is fully open for air transport business, especially with regards to free freedom. If we can achieve what has been set out for 2023 this year, then SATAM would be certainly on the highway to success, and our airlines and our states would be the ultimate beneficiaries of what SATAM has to offer. Excellent program, and we wish AFCAC all the best. We need the support of all our countries, and particularly our airlines, to attend these shows and provide the necessary support, even as we go along to try and work with these ones. But at some point earlier, you also talked about collaboration. You see, because our airlines are small, and because our airlines don't have a wider network of their own, it is actually important for them to work together. Absolutely. But unfortunately, increasingly, we are not seeing them working together. Why are African airlines not too keen to work together? And as a consultant, if you were to advise African airlines, what would be your advice on them getting together?
Yeah, well, I think of course, yeah, today we can speak about the lack of collaboration, but I think there are today networks like the association, like the AFRAA, like ASA, for example. I think Aaron joined us earlier. I think the role of these associations, of these industry associations and other alliances, is to play a major role in accelerating change, in negotiating and lobbying, in promoting, in helping, in also sharing resources, either in sharing also programs, in also having common goals, in setting standards, in providing best-in-breed solutions for these airlines. So because a small airline, a nascent airline, sometimes maybe could not have or the access to specific resources, or even if it can have this access, you know, having the association and negotiating through the association and being a part of an association or an alliance would help these different airline members to have access and to benefit from strategic partnerships. So I think the association and the alliances play a major role in promoting, in leveraging small-sized, medium-sized, nascent, and regional players. So I think this is the first point. Also, alliances would be a win-win situation for, of course, also passengers and airlines. Yeah, there are many reasons why traditionally we saw less collaboration, like competition. Sometimes it's regulatory that hurdles, sometimes it's the lack of trust, sometimes it's just some proximity, because sometimes you need also social proximity, managerial proximity helps to build trust between airlines. So that's why also gathering in different events, in airline African events, it helps people to gather together, to know each other, to build the trust, and then to cooperate, collaborate, and be part of a more powerful network. So I think it's a matter sometimes of also network structure, sometimes also states, governments. We need to better collaborate to enable airlines also to collaborate. Sometimes it's on another level.
That's true. That's true.
Also,
so, you know, talking about the role of the associations, I remember last year, AFRAA, in partnership with Kenya Airways and Lufthansa Consultant, launched a program to try and get airlines to collaborate and work together. And they came up with clear milestones and action items that needs to be addressed to bring this about. And as part of it, you see that increasingly there are discussions ongoing between South African Airways and Kenya Airways on joint operations and collaboration at different levels. I think there's a plan to spread this out across the continent and get many more airlines to see reason to work together, because together we are stronger. Individually, we are weaker. And if we are weak, we will never be able to take charge of our market the way we ought to. But Dr. Soumaya, I cannot let you go without you telling us your organization, Innova Conseil. What do you do for the African aviation industry? What have you done before? What are you doing? And what do you plan to do? How can you help us?
Thank you. Yes, I will just seize the opportunity to talk the associations, because Innova also is a member of AFRAA. So it's we also offering our services to AFRAA members. When we talk about services, of course, it's advisory services, but also training services. Also, we are in discussions with other associations like ASA, also with ACO. We provided some workshops, training session for HR. In terms of advisory services, we differentiate ourselves by the strategic capacity to have really the helicopter view required for understanding the organization, its DNA, its strength, its challenges, paired with the experts' ability to zoom in using cutting-edge tools for each function, for each business, and whether you're talking about operations, human resources, marketing, strategy. So we really provide tailored consulting and accompanying services suited to each business, whether we talk about a regional player, a global player, a nascent player. We really are customer-oriented, and we give relevant expertise in assisting airlines according to its needs, to its size, to its DNA culture. For example, we accompanied Royal Air Maroc since the COVID in the whole restructuring of their organization, in also the maturity diagnosis and restructuring of the different function, information system, human resources, HR transformation, the marketing, the self-leadership journey, the strategy, even the open innovation roadshow last year. So we accompanied very closely Royal Air Maroc in moving from a 2.0 to a 3.0 airline. And we are very proud and honored to have been the strategic partner for different strategic missions these last 3 years. We also work with the whole ecosystem with, for example, the national offices of tourism, like in Djibouti, because sometimes we need to work with the whole ecosystem, not only the airline. We're working also in a project of self-leadership with the South African associations, the ASA, to enable different South African airlines to benefit from advisory services and self-leadership development. And just to talk about the self-leadership, and this is a very critical part today of the capacity enhancement initiatives required for airlines, but also the various stakeholders. So we assist CEOs and senior executives in managing their businesses successfully and efficiently in a highly competitive marketplace. But we also address individual development at multiple levels, allowing them to deliver work outcomes more effectively and according to the expected standards. And this self-leadership journey fits into an organizational target, which fits the airline, either people and culture, strategy and organizational capabilities, or customer experience. So we are a niche player in the industry, and we work closely with the airlines with a human-centric approach, and we accompany each airline, each hospitality each hospitality actor in the ecosystem according to its DNA, its challenges and its strengths.
Yeah, that's very, very comprehensive. You do so much for this industry, and already you're working with some of the African airlines, and that is very impressive. I'm sure there are other airlines who are listening to us who might actually be reaching out either to get your contact details directly from you or through AFRAA, and we will definitely be glad to link them up to your organization for assistance, because Africa really need the skills, we really need the expertise, and the only way we can get these is actually by engaging the right consultants. And I always say that, you can have consultants from elsewhere, but the aviation landscape is so different, Africa and non-African. And so if you go and get an aviation consultant that comes from a region which does not understand or appreciate the dynamics of the African environment, chances are they might not be able to support your operations effectively, because they might prescribe solutions to you that on the ground might be very difficult to implement and achieve results. That is why we are happy and excited to have organizations like yourself based on the continent, understand our pain points, know what our requirements are, so that you can tailor-make solutions to address our concerns. But before we go, let me just go to some of our questions. We have a couple of questions that came in. I already took one from Aaron, but there are still a couple of them. Now, Adikini had 3 questions, and probably in view of time, we just have 2 minutes, we probably might just touch on them briefly. He says, Africa does not have industries to produce SAF, that is sustainable aviation fuels, despite the abundance of raw materials on the continent. What measures should we put in place? Because in the near future, we will incur high costs because we cannot produce SAF. What do you think we need to do to get SAF production on the continent up and going?
Yes, I think SAF is very important. That's why earlier when we were talking about sustainability, we talked about the increasing costs, and SAF is made from advanced biofuels, electrofuels, both of which are significantly more expensive than kerosene. So we know the expenses of it. But I think there's a need to act in a more regional and ecosystemic perspective in order to promote SAF, because for now it's a very it's not provided in the African continent. It's not. It's maybe in it's not. It's only in America and in Europe. And I think today then we need to have an action plan. We need to have a discussion. We need to have an evaluation of SAF expenses, SAF sustainability. We also need to have a cost analysis, and I think we need to have a clear picture on how we should move regarding the SAF solution.
Yeah.
I think it's sometimes it's good not to be a follower in some leading questions like sustainability, to benefit from what's happening now in Europe and in the US, and waste time. So I think it's good to be on track, but also to follow what's happening and to have a clear vision on SAF, on how the aviation will turn to SAF as a primary fuel, and the options. But it's a question that is in progress and everyone is following.
Yeah, the next question is from Adi Kenye, says, what does it take for Africa to attract major aircraft manufacturers to set up in Africa so as to develop skills and spur the growth of the aviation industry?
To attract them in terms of foreign investment?
To come and set up assembly plants here and produce aircraft. Yes,
I think this is at a national level, of course. I think this is the incentives that the government can put in place. So I think this is in terms of public policy, public investment policy, and in any government, you have to work as also an engaged and a dedicated ecosystem that would attract these investors, attract the industry to come to invest. But also we need to do our homework. It means that we need to have the required transportation. You need, because there's the incentives, but then you need to sell to promote your country.
Your attractiveness, basically, and get them to really come in and support you. Now, ladies and gentlemen, our time is up, but just allow us so that we can take these questions. It takes a lot of effort and concentration and focus to be able to put questions together during the discussion. So please just allow us the next 5 minutes so that we can take the rest of the questions, please. Briefly, then we can go. The final question from Akini says, what lessons can we learn from Europe as we try to promote LCC in Africa, low-cost carriers in Africa?
We have different lessons. Well, I think we can always take lessons from different experiences in Europe and even in Africa. But I think there are the COVID, I think, was a game changer, because we were having a kind of hub. Some players were aiming at seeing the hub strategy as the best strategy to become, for example, an African or a regional player. And then when the COVID hit, we discovered that the point-to-point was important, and having a strategy in terms of point-to-point was important, and the low the full carrier we were, moving from the full career business model to a kind of hybrid model between the low cost and the full career. So today we have lots of options in terms of business models. It's not anymore just a low cost or a full service career. Today we have many range of options between these two business models. So I think it was the COVID when it hit that made us change in terms of consumer behavior, consumer preferences. We don't want to have, we want to go direct, to have direct flights. We don't want stops. Also, sometimes we want to have a fast track. We don't want to be with the crowd. We want to go to lounge. So I think since the COVID, anything has in the customer journey, in the customer expectation, and this changed the way we build our value proposition. And as soon as the value proposition, then our positioning changed, and we changed the positioning. It's the whole business model that changed because the promise changes. So I think I would say it's more the COVID experience that completely changed the way we think about traveling, the way we think about how we want to travel. And sometimes we're in between the business, the eco, the
Hello.
Yes.
So we take the final two questions, one question and then some comments, and then we can get your final thoughts. This one is from Francis Mwangi, and he says, what initiatives are being taken by airlines in line with CORSIA and SAF uptake in order to achieve the 2050 ICAO carbon neutral goals? I don't know, we're having a lot of questions on the environment, even though we didn't really cover the environment in detail. We only talked about sustainability.
I understand, this concern today because I don't know why, but it's like the aviation industry is becoming like the new big tobacco. And
it's becoming the new big tobacco industry now today. And all focuses on us.
But today we're having the IATA resolution that is important about achieving the net zero carbon emission by 2050. So there's already this engagement that has been signed, and we have many African, of course, players that are engaged in this. We have many sustainability also policies inside some major players. I can cite, of course, Huayla Maroc in terms of sustainability, but others too. So I think there are small steps, but we're just in the beginning of this
this whole process, and with time we will see how things pan out.
It was, I think, in October that that the resolution was signed in terms of.
Yes, during the ICAO assembly in Montreal.
So it was very recent,
So there's still a lot of backroom work going on, and as they evolve, we will share with members the details. Now, let me just take the two comments that are coming from Richard Powell, who is saying, I am offering free consultancy for African airlines to understand what CESA is and how it would benefit Africa. Free route is an excellent example of this. So Richard, we want to thank you for offering free advice or consultancy to any African airlines. I am sure if any airline requires this assistance, please reach out to the AFRAA Secretariat, and we'll link you up to Richard for that purpose. The final comment is from Mansour Diop, and he's saying, SATAM is an excellent thing if really implemented. Getting airlines together, taxes should be substantially decreased to develop air travel. On some liaison or some of taxes may represent up to 40% of the total cost of the ticket. Civil aviation authorities should coordinate practical meetings of their national airlines who could proceed to their schedule coordination, joint negotiations for the fuel purchase insurance cost, which leads to economies of scale with a positive impact on the ticket. In fact, talking about joint fuel purchase, Mr. Mansour, AFRAA has a joint fuel purchase program and it's been running for years. And the airlines that participate in it are really driving significant cost-saving benefits for their fuel cost. So if any airline wants to join, they can contact AFRAA and they will be glad to assist them. Your final point says, effective facilitation of goods and people's movement is also important. Launching such routes will also develop the regional import and export business with needs for gradual cargo facilitation. So effectively, Mansour is just talking about the need for us to ensure that SATAM is implemented because the benefits go beyond just air transport. It is trade facilitation, as business facilitation, is the investments and is GDP growth that we can find for our country. So these are the comments that we have, and I would want to thank especially Aaron, Adikinyi, Francis, Mansour, and Richard for your comments and your questions. Finally, before I let you go, Dr. Soumaya, your final thoughts. What do you think African airlines or African aviation ecosystem, as you put it, should be doing more of or less of? Please,
yes, thank you.
Some food for thought.
I would like also to thank the audience for all the comments and questions. I think I would be optimistic. This would be my concluding remarks. I think our industry is a stable one in the medium and in the long term. I think the major crisis was back, and we're now moving forward to recovery, to new opportunities, to new investment, to a strong demand. And it is essential today that leading this transition, we're talking about more sustainable future, to today possess the right skill and to correct the skill set. So we need to meet the recovery's needs. We need to work harder at being flexible, innovative, agile, reskilling, to right skilling, training the staff. So we need to reposition the industry also as an rewarding, as an interesting, as an attractive career choice. We need a new narrative for human capital attraction, retention, but also for passengers, for demand. So we need to invest in culture, but also in the image and the brand of the industry. Finally, I think the main challenge, as we said, is we need to work on cost reduction. We need to embrace digital transformation. We need to continue investing in safety, improve customer experience. And I think expanding routes, international routes today, intra-African routes is very important for growing our African industry. And thank you for the presentation.
Thank you so very much, Dr. Soumaya, for your time and for giving us so much within so short a space of time today. We really appreciate your participating on this panel today. And I, on behalf of myself, yourself, and the AFRAA Secretariat, I wish to thank all our participants for taking time to be with us today. And particularly for those who have asked questions or made comments, we really appreciate. Do let us do this again next month, same time. And until then, I wish you all the best. Enjoy the rest of your day. I'm sorry that we had to run about 14 minutes behind schedule. do hope you understand that it was so interesting we could not have cut it shorter than this. Have a nice day, everyone, and we wish you all the best. Bye-bye to you all. Bye.
Thank you. Thank you all. Thank you so much. Bye.